Today I'll give you just a brief review, the importance of kinship once again. I'll talk about Hawaiian and then Pacific cultures, European contact, and then European contact and some changes throughout the islands. Brief review, 99.99% of the island just came out of Southeast Asia. There's a carbon-14 date of about 30,000 BC. As you move further and further towards the east, the dates get younger and younger. Maybe a fraction of a percentage of people came out of South America, but the bulk of people moving across in this general direction. Coming out of Southeast Asia, eventually some going down to Australia. There's a carbon-14 date of Australia in the Darwin area of about 186,000 BC. That's Homo sapiens that is there. Then moving out across, maybe hitting Hawaii 300 AD, 400 AD. Easter Island 300 AD, 400 AD. The dates change down to New Zealand by about 1,000 AD, perhaps with a great fleet. That's the story that they have. Perhaps successive waves of people going down. I mentioned there was some backtracking as they moved out of Southeast Asia. They got to the Fiji, Tonga, Samoa area, and they backtracked into Micronesia. In this particular part of Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, or now the Republic of the Marshall Islands. Some of you in the audience may be familiar with the islands of Eniwetok and Bikini, which took major atomic bomb testings after the Second World War. The Marshall Islands are fascinating. There are a string of islands. One is named Sunrise and one is named Sunset in the native language. But these are the islands that are most famous for putting together stick charts to teach their young people how to navigate. You know where the island is, you see the waves coming in, you're able to read the waves, and the stick charts were used and passed on to their children to learn how to navigate throughout the island. So this is where you find the stick charts, not in Polynesia proper, but in Micronesia. My own interpretation of how the islanders got to where they got to, including Hawaii, is out of Fiji by about 1500 BC before the Christ, down to Tonga, and then zap over time, being out throughout the rest of the Pacific. Traveling for a variety of reasons, overpopulation, wanting to get away from it all, hoping to see new things over the horizon. And so this is why they went, and they peopled 1/3 of the globe. Once again, the word primitive is dumb when you look at what people did with their technology. The importance of kinship cannot be stressed anymore. George did a beautiful presentation on the various kinship in the Hawaiian Islands. If you have a tribe, divide them to A, B, C, and D. Various rules are developed on who marries who cannot marry who. And then eventually on the islands itself, you have, for the big island, divided up much like a pizza pie, to the moku, to the ahu puaha, puaha being for the pork. This is from the island of Tahiti. And here you can see it's one of the best slides I could find of the various valleys that exist in the island of Tahiti. And so the kin would be in one valley, and they'd have a different group in another valley, a little further along the way, till finally the island is settled, and kinship is an important organizing principle. Now, Hawaiian or Pacific culture, the Hawaiians got there 300 AD and adapted to their environment, and it gradually grew over time. The population grew over time. It was a stratified society. The important people got their power from the gods, from the heavens, from the union of Sky Father and Sky Mother and mere mortals. The king was called the mo'i. He was the person of the highest chiefly rank. The chief minister is on one side is the high priest, the kahuna nui. Slightly below the exalted chiefs, the chiefs of all ranks who served the king, and they were the ali'i. And below the ali'i were the kahunas, or the common people, and below that the maka'aina. And then even below that would be the slaves that would be caught in battles of war battles. People have a tendency to believe sometimes that before the Europeans entered into North America or the Pacific Islands, that all the islanders lived in peaceful harmony with one another. Indigenous peoples around the world fought for natural resources just as people around the world fight for natural resources today. And so there were, in fact, slaves in Hawaiian society, the lowest pecking order. Hawaiians had an understanding of their universe. As George pointed out with the beautiful lecture on legends, they had stories to explain how things came into being. The makahiki was one of the most important parts for the Hawaiians, and it's interesting because this is when Captain Cook eventually hits the Hawaiian Islands. It was the Hawaiian New Year in honor of the god Lono. It was a holiday covering 4 consecutive lunar months, approximately from October to November, or October, November to February or March. Religious ceremonies happened during this period. The people stopped working, they made offerings to the king, and then spent their time practicing sports, feasting, dancing, and having a good time. War was forbidden during this point in time. I'll come back to this in Captain Cook in a minute. The Hawaiians, again, tried to make sense of the universe, and they had 4 major deities. Kanaloa, also known as Tangaloa in some parts of the islands. Kane, Ku, and Lono. there are various